The unexpected knock. The man lived a quiet life. His name was Daniel. He was not old, but he was not young either. He lived alone in a small house on the edge of town. His days were simple. Wake up, eat, go to work, come home, sleep. Over time, life had become empty. The silence in his home grew heavy. One evening, Daniel sat at his small wooden table, staring at a piece of paper. He had written an ad. Nothing special. Just a request for help. The ad said, "Looking for a cook, part-time, meals 3 times a day, pay in cash." He pinned it outside the local market. He thought maybe an old woman, or maybe a young man looking for extra money would respond. He expected normal things, like a pot of soup or fresh bread. That was all. Just food, nothing else. But fate had other plans. The night was cold. The wind brushed against his windows, making a soft whistling sound. Daniel was about to sleep when he heard it, a knock on the door. It was late. Too late for a visitor. He froze for a moment. The sound came again, louder this time. Knock, knock, knock. His heart beat faster. He stood slowly, walked across the creaking floor, and reached for the door handle. When he opened the door, the world changed. A tall figure stood outside, wrapped in a long, dark cloak. The figure trembled as if from fear or cold. In her arms, she carried something small, something glowing faintly under the cloth. Daniel blinked. At first he thought it was a woman from another country, but then he saw her face under the hood. Her eyes were larger than human eyes, glowing silver in the moonlight. Her skin had a pale blue shade. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "Please, help us." In her arms, the bundle moved. A baby. The child's tiny hands peeked from the cloth, glowing softly like starlight. The baby let out a weak cry, a sound not fully human, not fully alien, something in between. Daniel could not breathe. His mind screamed, "This is not possible, this is not real." He stepped back, gripping the doorframe. Who are you?" he asked. The woman's voice cracked. "I saw your ad. You asked for a cook, but I have no food to give. I have no work to offer. I only have this, my child, and we need safety." Her words were heavy, each one pulling Daniel deeper into confusion. He wanted to close the door, to hide, to pretend none of this was happening. But her eyes stopped him. They were not the eyes of a monster. They were the eyes of a mother. The baby coughed weakly. Its glow flickered, like a dying flame. Daniel's chest tightened. He had no wife, no children, no family. He had chosen a quiet life. But now, standing in front of him, was a mother on the edge of despair. Before he could speak, a sound came from the darkness outside. A crunch of footsteps on gravel. Slow, heavy, watching. The woman's head snapped toward the sound. Fear filled her silver eyes. She pushed the baby closer to her chest and whispered urgently, "Please let us in. They are coming." Daniel felt his stomach twist. They? Who was coming? He looked out into the night. The road was empty, but the shadows seemed to move. A shiver ran down his spine. Something dangerous was near. He had a choice: turn them away, or let them in. His hand trembled as he stepped aside. "Come in, quickly." The woman rushed inside, clutching her baby tightly. Daniel shut the door and locked it, pressing his back against the wood. His heart pounded like a drum. For a moment, silence filled the room. The woman's breathing was fast, shaky. The baby whimpered softly. Daniel swallowed hard and whispered, "You're not from here, are you?" The woman lowered her hood. Her silver eyes glistened. "No, I am not. And if you keep us here, your life will never be the same." Daniel stared at her. He didn't know if he had just saved a mother and child or invited danger into his home. Outside, the wind howled. But beneath the sound of the storm, he thought he heard it again. Footsteps, slow, patient, waiting in the dark. The knock had only been the beginning. The strange request. The air inside Daniel's small house felt heavy. The alien woman sat at the edge of his worn sofa, holding her baby close. Her silver eyes moved around the room, watching every corner, every shadow, as if danger could burst through the walls at any moment. Daniel stood near the table, still in shock. He had wanted only a cook. Nothing strange, nothing risky, and yet here he was, staring at a mother and her child who clearly did not belong to Earth. The baby made a soft sound, a strange mix of a sigh and a hum. Its tiny fingers glowed faintly, lighting the woman's pale blue skin. The glow flickered, weak and fading, like a candle struggling in the wind. Daniel cleared his throat. You said they are coming. Who exactly? The woman's voice trembled, but her words were clear. Hunters. They track us across the stars. My child is the last of his kind. If they catch us, he will be taken, used, broken. Her arms tightened around the baby. The fear in her eyes was sharp, but stronger than fear was love. Daniel felt his stomach twist. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't a soldier. He was just a man who needed meals cooked on time. Why was this happening to him? He rubbed his forehead. Look, I don't know what kind of war you're running from, but I'm not part of it. I can't fight hunters from the stars. The woman shook her head. I am not asking you to fight. I'm asking for one thing: shelter, food, a place to hide, even for a short time. Her words were soft, but they carried a weight Daniel couldn't ignore. Shelter and food. That was all. Simple things, yet dangerous now that hunters were near. The baby coughed again, and Daniel noticed something odd. The sound carried a faint vibration, like a note from a musical instrument. The air itself seemed to hum in response. Daniel swallowed. Is the child sick? The woman's lips pressed tight. She looked at the baby with worry, then back at Daniel. His strength is fading. He has not eaten properly in days. Our food does not exist here on your world. But maybe, human food will be enough, at least for a little while. Daniel hesitated. He remembered the pot of soup on his stove, simple chicken broth, bread on the side. His dinner. Could that really help an alien child? But then he saw the mother's face, tired, desperate, yet still holding hope. Against his own doubts, Daniel walked to the stove, scooped some soup into a bowl, and placed it on the table. The woman sniffed it carefully, her glowing eyes narrowing. Then she dipped a finger into the broth and touched it gently to the baby's lips. For a moment, nothing happened. Then slowly, the glow in the baby's skin brightened. A weak cry turned into a stronger one. The baby reached for more. The woman gasped, relief flooding her features. It works, she whispered, tears glistening in her eyes. Your food, it works. Daniel let out a shaky laugh. So I post an ad for a cook, and now I'm feeding an alien baby chicken soup. Life is strange. For the first time, the woman gave a small, tired smile. Strange, yes, but you may have saved him. The moment was almost peaceful, until the sound came again. Crunch. Footsteps on gravel. Closer this time. Daniel froze. His eyes darted to the window, but he saw only darkness. The woman's face went pale. She whispered, They have found us. Daniel's heart raced. He hadn't signed up for this. He didn't want this danger. Yet the idea of handing her over filled him with a sick feeling. The footsteps stopped. Silence. Then a voice outside, low, metallic, chilling. We know you are here. Give us the mother. Give us the child. Do this and your life will remain untouched. Daniel's blood ran cold. The voice wasn't human. It was layered, like two voices speaking at once. The woman clutched her baby tight and shook her head. Do not open the door, please. If they get him, everything will end. Daniel's hands shook. He had never been brave. But looking at the baby, glowing brighter now after a taste of human food, something inside him hardened. He stepped toward the door, pressing his palm against the wood. "This is my house," he said, voice low. "And I don't hand over guests to monsters." There was silence outside, then slow laughter, mocking, inhuman. "Very well, human. We will come and take them ourselves." The footsteps retreated, but Daniel knew they would return. Stronger. He turned back to the woman. Her eyes shone with both fear and gratitude. "You have chosen danger, Daniel, but also honor." Daniel sat down, running a hand through his hair. He had no weapons, no plan. Yet one thing was certain: the hunters were real, and they would come back. And now, because of a simple ad for a cook, his quiet life was gone forever. But as he looked at the mother and her child, glowing softly against the shadows, Daniel felt something he hadn't felt in years: purpose. The strange request was simple: shelter and food. But Daniel knew it was only the beginning of something far greater. Outside, in the dark, the hunters waited. The clock ticked past midnight, and inside, the small house, 3 lives sat in silence, preparing for what was coming next. A deal with danger. The night grew colder. The silence outside was not peace, it was a warning. Daniel sat by the table, his fists tight, his mind racing. He had allowed the alien mother and her glowing child into his home, and now hunters were circling like wolves in the dark. The woman sat with her baby wrapped in cloth, rocking him slowly. The child's glow flickered, stronger now after the soup, but still fragile. Her silver eyes lifted to Daniel, filled with a mix of fear and trust. "You should not have spoken to them," she whispered. "Now you are part of this." Daniel gave a bitter laugh. "I didn't ask for this. I wanted a cook, not a war. But I couldn't just give you away." Her lips trembled. Most humans would have closed the door. Daniel turned toward the window. Shadows shifted outside. He felt it. The hunters hadn't left. They were waiting, watching. Suddenly, there was another sound. A sharp click followed by a low voice, mechanical, cruel. "Human, you have one chance. Open the door. Hand them over. In return, we will not harm you. This is your deal." Daniel's heart thudded. His body told him to surrender, to survive. But when he looked at the baby glowing weakly in his mother's arms, something inside him refused. He whispered, more to himself than to them, "No deal." The woman's eyes widened. "Then they will attack." As if to prove her words, the front window rattled violently. A clawed hand, metallic and sharp, scraped against the glass. The sound cut through the silence like a blade. Daniel grabbed the nearest thing he could, a heavy iron poker from the fireplace. It wasn't much, but it was all he had. His hands shook as he held it like a weapon. The woman's voice was calm, but urgent. "Listen. They want my child, not you. They will try to frighten you, break you. But remember, fear is their first weapon. If you show weakness, they win." Daniel forced a deep breath. Fear sat heavy in his chest, but he pushed it down. "I don't like bullies," he muttered. Then, the front door boomed. A heavy strike shook it on its hinges. Dust fell from the ceiling. The baby whimpered, his glow trembling like a flickering candle. "Stay behind me," Daniel said, surprising himself with the firmness in his voice. Another strike. The wood began to crack. Daniel's heart raced. He couldn't fight armed hunters. He needed something else, something clever. His eyes darted to the kitchen. Pots, knives, oil, traps. Maybe he couldn't win by strength, but he could stall them. He moved quickly, setting a pot of oil on the stove, turning the flame high. His mind raced with plans. Hunters from the stars might be strong, but they didn't know his house. And his house could become a trap. The door shook again, splinters flying. A voice hissed through the cracks. "Last chance, human, surrender." Daniel gritted his teeth. "If you want them," he shouted, "come and get them." The door burst open with a deafening crash. 3 figures entered, tall and armored in dark metal. their glowing eyes scanning the room. Their bodies were part machine, part flesh, twisted and cruel. The mother gasped, clutching her baby. Daniel stood between them and her, gripping the iron poker tight. One of the hunters stepped forward. Its voice was a growl layered with static. "Foolish human, you protect what does not belong to you." Daniel's hands trembled, but he forced a smile. "She knocked on my door. That makes her my guest. And I protect my guests." The hunter laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Then you die with them." It lunged forward. In that instant, Daniel swung the poker with all his strength. It struck the hunter's chest, sparking against metal but barely slowing it. The creature snarled and raised its claw to strike back. Boom! The pot of oil on the stove boiled over, flames rushing upward. The fire spread fast, smoke filling the air. The hunter staggered, momentarily distracted by the sudden blaze. Daniel grabbed the woman's hand. "Run! Upstairs!" They dashed up the wooden staircase, the baby glowing brighter in her arms. The hunters roared below, metal boots clanging against the floor as they followed. At the top of the stairs, Daniel pulled the woman into a small storage room. He shut the door quietly, his breath fast. The baby whimpered, and the glow pulsed against the dark walls. The woman hushed him, whispering in a language Daniel didn't understand. Below, comma. The hunters stomped through the house, searching, smashing furniture. Their voices echoed. "We will find you. The deal is not over." Daniel pressed his back to the door, sweat running down his face. He had delayed them with fire, but it wouldn't last. They would search every room. The woman looked at him, her silver eyes sharp. "Why do you risk this? You could still push us out, save yourself." Daniel shook his head. "Because I've lived too long doing nothing. Maybe this is crazy, but if I don't stand now, when will I ever?" The baby's glow grew steadier, brighter. It was almost as if the child sensed Daniel's words, drawing strength from them. For the first time, the woman gave him a look not of fear, but of respect. "Then we fight together." The hunter's footsteps grew louder, closer. They were coming up the stairs. Daniel tightened his grip on the poker. His house was no longer just his home. It was a battlefield. The deal had been offered, and he had refused. Now the real danger was here. And he would face it, no matter the cost. The hunters arrived. The wooden door to the storage room rattled as heavy footsteps thundered up the stairs. Daniel pressed his back against it, gripping the iron poker so tightly his knuckles turned white. His breathing was sharp and fast, but his eyes burned with focus. The alien mother held her baby close. The child's glow pulsed softly, a light that refused to fade. She whispered words in a language Daniel couldn't understand, rocking the infant gently even as fear filled the room. Below, comma. The house groaned under the hunter's weight. Furniture crashed, glass shattered. Voices, low, metallic, cruel, echoed up the stairs. "Human, you cannot hide forever." The door downstairs slammed. Another voice joined, colder, harsher. "Search every room. Leave nothing standing." Daniel's heart thudded like a drum. This wasn't just a visit anymore. It was a siege. The woman leaned closer, her silver eyes glowing faintly. "They are inside your walls now. They will not stop." Daniel swallowed hard. "Then we make them regret stepping into my house." He took a quick look around the storage room. Old boxes, tools, heavy nails, and a hammer. Not much, but enough for traps. He grabbed a handful of nails and scattered them across the floor near the door. If the hunters burst through, they'd step right into them. The woman's voice was low but steady. "Your courage is strange, Daniel. You fear them, but you still stand." Daniel gave a humorless laugh. "Trust me, I'm terrified, but being terrified doesn't mean giving up." The footsteps grew louder, closer. The hunters were coming. Up the stairs now, their boots clanging like iron hammers. The wood creaked under their weight. Suddenly, comma, the baby let out a sharp cry. His glow brightened, filling the small room with light. Daniel's eyes widened. It was beautiful, but dangerous. Quiet. Him, Daniel whispered urgently. The woman shook her head. He cannot stop. He feels their presence. His body reacts. The glow pulsed brighter, spilling out through the cracks in the door. On the stairs, the hunters stopped. A voice hissed. There. Above us, the child is there. Daniel's chest tightened. They had been found. The door shook violently as claws scratched against it. Sparks flew where metal scraped wood. The hunter's growls grew louder. Open, human, you cannot protect them. The wood began to splinter. Daniel gritted his teeth and raised the poker, ready to strike the moment they came through. His heart pounded so hard it hurt, but he refused to step aside. Then it happened. The door exploded inward. Splinters flew across the room, nails scattering. A massive hunter stepped in, armored chest gleaming with dark metal, glowing red eyes locked. On the baby. It moved fast, but its heavy foot landed squarely on the nails. The beast let out a distorted roar, staggering for a brief moment. Daniel swung the poker with all his strength, striking the hunter's head. The sound rang through the room like metal hitting stone. The creature staggered but didn't fall. It turned its gaze to Daniel, voice dripping with malice. Weak human. Brave but weak. The alien mother suddenly stood, her silver eyes glowing brighter. She raised her free hand, and for the first time, Daniel saw her power. A wave of light burst from her palm, slamming into the hunter. The creature roared, thrown back against the wall. But before relief could settle, two more hunters appeared in the doorway. Taller, stronger, their claws dripping with sparks. Daniel's chest tightened. 3 against 2. He knew the odds. The baby's glow grew brighter, filling the room with an almost blinding light. The hunters shielded their eyes, hissing angrily. The child's cry wasn't weak anymore. It was sharp, powerful, and vibrating like thunder. The woman gasped, clutching him. No, not now. He's too young. Daniel didn't understand, but he saw the effect. The hunters faltered, their movements slower, their claws shaking. He realized something. The child was more than a baby. He was a weapon, a force the hunters feared. Daniel took the chance. He charged, swinging the poker into the second hunter's knee joint. The metal bent, sparks flying. The creature stumbled forward, crashing into the floor. The third hunter roared and lunged at Daniel. Claws swiped through the air, missing him by inches. Daniel ducked, his body moving on instinct. Fear should have frozen him, but adrenaline carried him forward. He jabbed the poker into the creature's side. It howled, twisting toward him. The woman shouted, "Daniel, down!" He dropped instantly. A burst of light shot over his head, striking the hunter full in the chest. The force blasted it backward into the hallway, smoke rising from its armor. For a moment, silence returned. Broken furniture, the smell of smoke, the sound of the baby's glowing hum filling the air. Daniel's chest heaved. He looked at the woman, then at the baby, then at the broken hunters. We did it? The woman shook her head, her silver eyes dark with warning. No, these were only scouts. The real hunter has not yet arrived. As if answering her words, a heavy thud shook the entire house. The floorboards groaned. A voice deeper and stronger than the others rumbled from below. Human, you delay the inevitable. I am coming for you now. The baby whimpered, his glow flickering uncertainly. The woman's arms trembled as she held him tighter. Daniel tightened his grip on the poker, sweat dripping down his face. He thought he had seen monsters, but now, something far worse was walking into his home. The hunters had arrived. But their leader was only just stepping in. Secrets of the child. The walls of Daniel's house groaned as heavy footsteps echoed below. The leader of the hunters had entered. Each step was slow, deliberate, and filled with menace. Daniel gripped the iron poker tightly. Sweat dripped down his forehead, but his eyes stayed locked on the doorway. He had faced 3 hunters and survived, but the sound of this one was different. He already knew. This wasn't just another soldier. This was something stronger. The alien mother held her child close. Her silver eyes shone with fear, but her jaw was set. She whispered to Daniel, "You must know the truth now. You deserve to know." Daniel glanced at her, breathing hard. "What truth?" She looked at her baby, then back at him. "This child is not only my son. He is the last of a royal line. My people are gone, hunted to the edge of the stars. He is all that remains." Daniel's chest tightened. "Royal line? You mean he's some kind of prince?" Her voice broke. "More than that. He is a key. Inside him lies power, ancient power that can shape worlds. The hunters want him not just to kill him, but to use him. If they succeed, they will control entire systems. Entire galaxies will fall." Daniel stared, stunned. He looked at the child, glowing faintly in her arms, his small hands reaching weakly into the air. "He's just a baby." Her eyes glistened. "Yes, that is why they hunt us. A baby cannot fight back. But one day, if he lives, he will change everything." The floor below groaned again. A deep voice rumbled upward, vibrating through the walls. "Mother. Human. There is no escape. Hand over the child, or watch your shelter burn." The woman's arms tightened around her baby. Her voice trembled, but her eyes were fierce. "Never." Daniel felt the weight of her words. He thought back to his quiet life, the silence of his empty house, the routine that never changed. He had wanted nothing but meals cooked on time, and now somehow he stood between an alien royal child and death. He almost laughed at the madness of it, but he didn't. Instead, he whispered, "Then we fight." The woman shook her head. "We cannot defeat him, not in strength, but maybe with the child's gift." Daniel frowned. "Gift?" She nodded. "He carries light inside him. It is raw, uncontrolled. That is why he glows. It responds to emotion, fear, love, courage. It can destroy or protect." Daniel looked at the baby, then back at her. "You mean he could stop them?" Her voice was soft but sure. "Yes, but he is too young. If he releases it now, it may consume him." A heavy silence filled the room. Daniel's mind raced. The choice was impossible. Risk the baby's life, or face certain death. The footsteps grew louder. The leader was climbing the stairs now. Each step shook dust from the ceiling. Daniel clenched his jaw. "Then we find another way. I won't let a child burn himself out just to save me." The woman looked at him surprised. "Most would not care. You are different." Daniel gave a humorless smile. "Maybe, or maybe I'm just stubborn." The door frame cracked as a massive clawed hand gripped it. The wood splintered. Then the leader stepped inside. He was larger than the others, taller than any man, covered in black metal armor that pulsed with red light. His face was a mask of bone and steel, and his eyes glowed like fire. Daniel froze. The air itself seemed to grow heavy in his presence. The leader's voice was deep and layered, shaking the floor. "Human, you have tested my patience. Step aside. Give me the child and I will grant you mercy. Refuse and your bones will decorate these walls." Daniel's grip on the poker tightened. His heart screamed to run, but his feet stayed firm. He shook his head slowly. "This is my house, my guest. My answer is no." The leader's laugh was like thunder. "Then you die first." He raised his clawed arm, ready to strike. The baby cried out. His glow burst brighter, filling the room with light so pure that it burned against the hunter's armor. The leader hissed, stepping back for the first time. The woman gasped, rocking her child. "No, little one. Not now." But the baby's glow grew stronger, spreading across the walls, the floor, even Daniel's skin. Daniel felt warmth rush through him, a strange energy pulsing into his bones. His fear faded, replaced by something else. Strength. The leader roared, slamming his claws into the ground. The wood cracked. The room shook. You cannot protect him. His power will be mine. Daniel raised the poker, now glowing faintly in his hands from the child's light. He stood taller, his voice steady. Not while I breathe. The leader lunged. Daniel swung. Light clashed with shadow, filling the house with chaos. For the first time, the hunter's leader staggered. And Daniel realized the truth. The child's power didn't just flow on its own. It flowed through those who chose to protect him. He wasn't fighting alone anymore. The secret of the child was no longer hidden. It was alive, burning in that small room. And the hunters would stop at nothing to claim it. Humanity fights back. The clash with the leader shook the small house like a storm. Sparks flew as metal claws met glowing light. Daniel's arms trembled, his poker glowing faintly in his grip. But he held his ground. The alien mother clutched her child, whispering hurried words in her strange tongue, as the baby's glow flickered like a heartbeat. The leader snarled, his voice deep and cruel. You think courage can save you, human? You think light will shield you? I have broken kings. I have burned worlds. You are nothing. Daniel's chest heaved. Fear clawed at him, but anger rose stronger. He had spent years alone, invisible to the world. But now he was standing in front of something that wanted to crush a child. That was enough to make him fight. He swung again, the poker striking sparks off the leader's chest. The hit did little, but the light pulsing through him gave him courage. The leader hissed and stepped back. Then his red eyes narrowed, and he raised one clawed hand. Very well. If you will not surrender, I will burn this shelter to ash. Let us see how long you protect them when fire eats your walls. He drove his claws into the floor. Heat spread instantly, fire crawling across. The wood like hungry serpents. Smoke filled the air. The woman gasped. Daniel coughed, pulling her and the baby toward the window. We can't fight him head on. We need to make this house fight for us. He ran down the hall, dragging them into the kitchen. Smoke stung his eyes, but his mind raced. Pots, knives, matches, tools. His house was simple, but it could be turned into a fortress. Stay low, he ordered the woman, placing her near the far wall. Protect him, I'll handle the rest. The leader's heavy steps followed. Run, human. Delay your death if you wish. It will not matter. Daniel grabbed a pan of oil and tossed it across the floor. He lit a match and threw it down. Flames burst up, forming a barrier. The leader roared as the fire spread between them. Daniel's voice was steady now. You want to see weak humans? Then you picked the wrong house. He moved quickly, overturning chairs, scattering glass, pulling down curtains. Every object became a weapon. Every corner became a trap. The hunters had numbers, armor, claws. But Daniel had something else. Imagination. When the leader tried to cross the flames, Daniel threw a pot of boiling water at his chest. The armor hissed, steam rising. The hunter staggered. Another hunter burst in through the back window, shards of glass raining down. Daniel grabbed a knife from the counter and hurled it with all his strength. It struck the creature's joint, making it howl and stumble. The woman raised her hand, sending a pulse of silver light to push the creature back. The baby cried, his glow spreading brighter, making the hunters falter again. Daniel shouted over the chaos. Good, keep them unsteady, I'll finish it. He darted to the basement door, pulling it open. Inside were old tools, wires, batteries. He grabbed them, his hands moving fast. He wasn't a soldier, but he was human. And humans built things. Within minutes, he rigged a crude trap. Wires across the stairs connected to batteries and nails. When one hunter charged down, the trap snapped. Electricity sparked, running through its body. It screamed, convulsing, and collapsed in a heap of smoke. Daniel's chest burned with exhaustion, but he stood taller. He was no longer just surviving. He was fighting back. The leader snarled, stepping into the kitchen now, his armor scorched, his claws dripping sparks. Impressive, human, but tricks cannot save you forever. Daniel faced him, sweat dripping down his brow, poker in hand. Maybe not. But sometimes, tricks are all we need. The leader lunged. Daniel ducked, swinging the poker upward into the hunter's jaw. The glow from the child pulsed at the same time, running through the metal, burning it. The leader howled, staggering back. The woman's voice rose firm and strong. "Daniel! Now!" The baby's glow flared brighter than ever, bathing the whole room in light. Daniel charged, striking with all his strength. The impact rang like thunder, sending the leader crashing through the wall into the yard outside. For a brief moment, silence filled the burning house. Smoke curled around them. Daniel's chest rose and fell in heavy gasps. His arms shook, but he stood tall, watching the hole in the wall. The woman looked at him with awe. You fight like one of us. But you are only human." Daniel wiped the sweat from his brow, his eyes never leaving the broken wall. "Yeah, just human. And maybe that's enough." Outside, the night was quiet. Too quiet. The leader was not gone. He was waiting, watching, preparing his next strike. Daniel knew the fight wasn't over. But something had changed. He wasn't just protecting strangers anymore. He was defending family. And as the baby's glow lit the smoke-filled room, Daniel realized something the hunters could never understand. Humans might be weak alone, but when they decided to stand, they were unbreakable. The house was nearly in ruins, but Daniel's spirit was not. He looked at the woman and her child and gave a small nod. "We're not done yet. If they want a war..." He tightened his grip on the poker, eyes burning with fire. "Then they'll get one." The final stand and beyond, the night air, blew through the broken wall, carrying the smell of smoke and fire. Daniel's small house, once quiet and ordinary, now stood half in ruins. Flames licked at the walls, broken furniture lay scattered, and the floor was scorched black. Outside. In the yard, the leader of the hunters rose slowly from the rubble. His black armor glowed with cracks of molten red, his bone and metal mask dented from the blow. Yet his eyes still burned, 2 points of hate shining in the dark. The alien mother clutched her baby close, her silver eyes filled with worry. The child's glow had dimmed, flickering like a candle fighting against wind. His strength was fading. Daniel stood in the hole where his wall used to be, the iron poker in his hands, his chest heaving. Sweat dripped from his face, his arms shook, but his stance was firm. The leader's voice rolled across the yard, deep and cruel. "Human, you are stubborn. You hide behind fire and tricks, but tricks end. Flesh burns. Bones break. This is the end of you." Daniel tightened his grip on the poker. His voice was hoarse but steady. "You're right. I am stubborn. And maybe I'm nothing special. But tonight, I'm the wall between you and them. And this wall doesn't fall." The leader roared, charging forward. His heavy steps cracked the earth, his claws sparking with deadly light. Daniel braced himself. Fear tried to claw its way into his chest, but he buried it deep. He wasn't fighting just for himself anymore. He was fighting for the mother, the baby, and something bigger than both. The clash came like thunder. The leader's claws slashed, sparks flying as Daniel blocked with the poker. His arms screamed with pain, but he pushed back, his teeth gritted. He swung, striking the hunter's jaw, then dodged as claws tore through the ground where he had stood. The mother raised her free hand, sending bursts of silver light toward the leader. They struck his armor, slowing him, but not stopping him. Her strength was fading too. The baby cried out again, his glow flickering brighter with each cry. The air vibrated, the walls hummed. Daniel felt the energy flow through him once more, steadying his arms, sharpening his senses. The leader hissed. "Yes, let the child use his gift. His power will break him, and then he will be mine." Daniel spat on the ground. "Not while I'm still breathing." He lunged, ramming the poker into the cracks of the hunter's armor. The glow from the child pulsed through the metal, and for a moment, the leader staggered back, roaring in pain. But the monster was relentless. With one swipe, he struck Daniel across the chest, throwing him to the ground. The air rushed out of Daniel's lungs as pain shot through his body. His vision blurred. The leader towered over him, claws raised high for the final strike. "This is your end, human." The baby screamed. Light burst out, not just from him but from the walls, the floor, even the broken air itself. Pure, radiant energy poured into the night sky, brighter than the moon, brighter than fire. The leader staggered, his claws covering his burning eyes. "No, he cannot." Daniel forced himself to his feet, every muscle screaming. The light poured into him again, filling him with strength he didn't know he had. His wounds burned, but the pain no longer stopped him. He looked at the leader, then at the woman. Their eyes met, and in that moment, no words were needed. Together, they moved. The woman raised her hand, sending a stream of silver light to trap the hunter in place. The baby's glow pulsed brighter, filling the cracks in the leader's armor with burning fire, and Daniel, roaring with everything he had left, drove the poker straight into the monster's chest. The light exploded. The ground shook, the air burned, and the hunter let out a final monstrous roar before collapsing in a heap of broken armor and fading sparks. Silence followed. Daniel fell to his knees, gasping for breath. His arms were weak, his body bruised, but he was alive. The poker clattered to the ground beside him, glowing faintly before cooling into dull iron again. The woman knelt beside him, the baby glowing softly in her arms. Her silver eyes were wet with tears. "You stood when no one else would. You fought when all seemed lost. My people will remember your name, Daniel." Daniel gave a tired laugh. "I'm not sure the galaxy cares about a man with a broken house and a bent poker." But the baby reached out, his tiny glowing hand brushing Daniel's cheek. For a moment, warmth flooded through him. Not just power, but gratitude. Daniel looked at the child and whispered, "Guess you've got a future now." The woman nodded, her voice soft but steady. "Because of you." The night was quiet again. The hunters were gone. The leader was no more. The danger for now had ended. Daniel stood slowly, looking at the ruins of his home. His walls were broken, his roof half burned, his life turned upside down. But inside, for the first time in years, he didn't feel empty. He felt alive. He looked at the woman and her child. "So, what happens now?" She smiled faintly, her eyes shining. "Now, we survive, and one day when he is grown, he will remember the human who saved him." Daniel nodded, a small smile tugging at his lips. "Well, I did put out an ad for a cook. Guess I got more than I asked for." The woman laughed softly, and for the first time that night, hope filled the air. As dawn broke on the horizon, Daniel knew his life would never be the same. He wasn't just a lonely man anymore. He was part of something greater, something worth fighting for. The galaxy might never know his name, but for one alien mother and her glowing child, he had become a legend.